Yeah, well, first, just the end of it, it was fun to have that opportunity to end that way. Um, and it kind of ties into the theme of what spring ball has been, just competitive. So 2-point conversion and that last drive, Holden, able to make a throw and Landon making the catch there to give their team a chance to win the game. And that's really been the theme of spring. It's just been competition. We talked about leadership, we've talked about chemistry, all those things like that, but just competing. And now moving forward, it's going to be about execution and making sure that what we're doing, what we learned from spring and what we're doing moving forward, it's for us to execute when it's time to go out there and actually play and win a football game. But a few things, like I said, competition was good. QB's led some good drives. I'm sure you guys will ask questions about that. Opening drives, 13 plays, 80 yards. Robbie followed that up with a nice drive. Just some penalties that hurt us during that one. Talked about Holden. And, I think the thing now for our players, just so you guys know what's happening moving forward, the next 2 weeks there's evaluations with the coaches. This next week there's evaluations with me. And then these guys have finals, and they need to finish up really strong academically. They'll get a little bit of time away. We'll come back into May. We start our summer program, and then we're back at it just from a conditioning and lifting standpoint and just developing these guys as athletes. And then obviously August is the next time we really get together and get a chance to go out there and play football and compete and get ready for the season. So a lot of work to do. And I would say that the last 15 practices, I'm proud of our guys. I think they've worked hard. I think they've taken advantage of the opportunities to go out there and get better at their position, get better as a team, and now that needs to continue. So to me, the physical part of it, that's going to be something that we're all doing together. That's what the strength staff and the coaches are handling, but it's really the mentality and just the mental side of the game. All right, what are they going to do between now and summer up to August, and then through August? How much better can we get before we step out there and play, just so we can play fast? And then last thing, too, just I do want to send our thoughts and prayers out to Jeff Klein, former Auburn QB, and was recently hospitalized. We're wishing him a speedy recovery. And, I know Cole, who was out there today on the field. Those guys are good friends and definitely a guy that's been a part of this program. So it was good to just sit back and watch our guys go out there and just play, get some live work in. Obviously, the quarterbacks aren't live, and the one thing for me that is difficult is when those guys aren't. They get touched. They think they broke the tackle. They get touched. They think they got the sack. So I never get a win in those situations. But those guys at that position have competed really hard. They obviously got a lot on their plate, trying to learn, some of these guys, a new system, and then also compete. So, but overall, defensively, we had an opportunity for a takeaway in there. We want to continue with that. I thought up front with the guys in the starting defense, they played the run well. They pressured the quarterback, so it was good to see. We did some things in the back end, coverage-wise, that I thought was good to see from my angle. And then, we did get some special teams in there as well, so that was part of it, and able to have that phase of the game in there. So overall, with our guys through 15 practices, some really good work. Now we got to go back and dissect it and see where we are going into these next couple weeks, and then see where we're going to go in the summer. So with that, questions?
Can you talk about the tight ends as a group throughout the spring and on A-Day?
Yeah. Well, in what in particular? I can talk about it a lot of ways. What do you like specifically?
What part of looks to me like they're going to be a big part of what you're doing
Yep.
this fall.
Yeah, well, yeah, they are, and they were last year. I think you've got Shanker, who played for us and did some really good things last year. He chose to come back, and he's not playing baseball, and you can tell that his entire focus being on one thing, because it's hard to do that. I mean, he's an elite athlete to be able to do both, and now he hones in on just the football piece. His body is, he's stronger, he's bigger. He's extremely intelligent when it just comes to understanding what we're doing on offense, but how he can go out there and manipulate the defense. And he did a good job today. There was one that was over his head, but he got himself open. But then you see Luke Deal making plays. We talked about Landon kind of moving out to receiver and doing some more of that. Brandon Frazier was making plays today out there from that entire group, Micah. So I like that group a ton. It's just as far as their mentality. And I think Coach Bedell has done a great job. And, when you have a guy like Coach Bedell, he played 7 years in the NFL. And so he understands, all right, what it takes to be successful as a player and how he coaches those guys and his mentality. I see that in that group. And then those guys know, like from the run game to the movement to the pass game, those guys need to play well in order for us to be successful. And so they've taken that on themselves to be like, we're going to be the group every day that shows up and is consistent, and we're making plays and doing our job. And they've done that. You saw it today, but they've done that all through spring. So we need them. They're a big part of what we do in our offense. I think that showed up today. I'm not sure how many catches they all had, but you can see it on the field.
Coach, the quarterback, it's a big conversation.
Is it?
What you did
last year. Yeah. You want to talk about the QBs?
Yeah. So
yeah.
What you did last year with Bo and TJ, are you kind of doing that again, or are you? Is it wide open? Are you going to wait until Zach gets a little better? Is there a chance that Robbie could potentially start on this team?
Yeah. Well, we haven't named a starter. All right. So I would say every guy at that position has a chance to be the guy. And so, at least as far as I know, we haven't named one, and that's okay. And those guys know that. That's not a knock on any one of them. It's just this competition continues, and what I've told our players, I mean, they're going to get their opportunities, and the best players will play. That's how it should be. So, and what we did last year, or the perception of that, really has no impact on what we're doing moving forward. All right, we're going to decide who a quarterback is. That will happen before we go out there and play. And those guys, if it's one guy, if it's other guys that deserve to play, we'll find a role for them on the field. And that's no different for me. We play a lot of guys on offense and defense, and sometimes as a quarterback, there's one guy out there. But if you deserve to play, we can find a role somehow, some way. So all those guys, and including Zach didn't get many reps. We didn't get to see Zach today. We can't put him out there. He's got a shoulder injury. But every single rep Zach has had an opportunity to take, I think he's done a pretty good job. So he's going to be in the mix. He's going to be cleared and able to go out there and participate, all right, like everybody else. And so come fall, he'll have the opportunities just like these guys. We're going to have to, at some point after that first scrimmage in fall, we got to hone it down to, right, here's our top guys. Get them more reps, and then make a decision. And when we do, we'll name a starter, and then that doesn't mean that other guys won't have a role somewhere on this team. But I like what TJ has done this spring. And TJ has played. TJ's got a good command of the offense. TJ has really stepped up as a leader. It was good to see Robbie go out there and play. Robbie's learning a whole new system. Robbie played baseball. This is the first time just playing football, and he's learning something new. He was at Oregon before. You got Zach coming in. He played at A&M. He's learning. And those guys are up there all the time trying to get as much information as they can before they go on the field and practice. Holden is a freshman, and I know this, like after practice 6 and 7, there's a lot. It's a lot to digest. And even Holden went out there today and just clipping down the field, made a great throw at the end. It was good to see him just cut it loose and play. So all those guys, they're all competing for that spot, and they're all doing everything they can to put themselves in the best position to succeed, so our team can go out there and win, so our offense can be productive. And so, yeah, I mean, but they're, they all get along. You got Sawyer Payton there, Trey Lindsey. Those guys are part of that as well. So that entire group of quarterbacks, yeah, they're competing, but they're also trying to make sure that whoever does play is going to be a guy that makes a difference for this football team, and we go out there and actually play against another opponent and trying to win games.
Bryan, how did everybody come out, other than the guys who are already not just saying, come out healthy, and also what does Oscar Chapman need as far as what he does as a punter?
I'm glad you asked me that about the punter. I like, I've said this before, and I'm a big fan of Oscar. I know we want to score every single time, but you're going to flip the field when you got an elite punter. And I think Oscar is one of the best in the country. And I say that because I've seen him. He's a phenomenal young man, awesome leader. I think he executes at a high level every time in practice, when it's his opportunity to go out there and do what he has to do. That helps us with field position. If we can, teams that can win the field position battle, that's a big part of it. So he helps us there. And as far as being healthy today, as far as I know, everybody was good. And that was one of the goals of spring too. You want to get into it healthy. I'd go back to Wednesday's practice. I mean, we were in full pads, and you could feel like at that point, you had a couple skirmishes out there, and it's just like, all right, we're at that point right now. And we had a helmet practice on Friday, and you guys saw the ice cream truck come out there and all that. Well, that's because Wednesday, man, it was heated. So we needed to make sure that we were all good before we went into the scrimmage. And so I'm telling you, you don't get to see all this practice. These guys are going hard. They're getting after it. It is competitive. There's a tremendous amount of fire and passion with these guys. Today was about utilizing our techniques, making sure that before we got to the actual snap of the ball, everybody's lined up. The operation of it is what we can control, players and coaches, that's right, and then playing ball. And just seeing guys tackle, break tackles, catch balls, move around, block people, get off blocks, all those fundamentals that show up in the game that we know are important. So, and then coming out of this healthy. All right, that's the one thing. You want to come out of spring ball and you want to be healthy so you can get everybody into summer and let those guys continue their development. And we did that today.
Bryan, sorry, I'm going back to quarterbacks.
I'm sure there was going to be another
Just
one on
person.
that, yes.
As far as Robbie, you say he's learning a new system and he hasn't played for 2 years. How important for him was it to come in today and kind of get that rust off of playing in a live game?
Yeah, well, I think one of Robbie's strengths is going to be live. And it's not his fault that he doesn't get the chance to do that. All right, we control that. And that's what I'm saying. Guy swings his arm out there. Is that really going to be a sack with Robbie? Probably not. He's very, very athletic, and you guys could see that today. As far as the rust, he was working hard up to the first practice. The first practice you're getting out there, and I really believe this too. For a quarterback, it's not just when you get into a competitive or a game situation. Every rep you take, routes on air, 7-on-7s, all that, you got to be thinking about the game because there's just so many factors that are happening around you at all times. And so I would say Coach Keesaw, Coach Hartline in that quarterback room, they've done a good job of making sure those guys just mentally when they go in, they're ready. They're focused, and I get it. It's hard it's 7-on-7. I don't have anybody rushing me. I got kickers out there with bags on their hands to get yourself in that game mode. But I think our guys did a pretty good job of that. And then today, just going out there and playing, it was good. He did some good things. Got the ball out of his hands, made some good throws. You got to rush, simulating, playing real football and what he would do. I thought he did that today.
The rushing numbers were not great, I guess. I don't know how you would characterize them today, but
What were they?
I think maybe 50 yards, 55, 60 yards total, something like that. Is that more of, so you had some offensive linemen that were out,
Yeah.
defensive line doing a good job. How would you sort of maybe assess, how do you evaluate that with those guys out today?
Well, what you said, I think a little bit, we've been running the same things against each other, but I also think our D-line's playing well. I really do. And I would say more so probably our D-line playing better, only because I've seen it. I sat in Coach Brumbaugh's meeting a couple weeks ago, and the way he was teaching those guys, he did a great job. And I sat in there from an offensive standpoint, I'm getting so fired up because I don't quite think the guys understand how valuable what he was teaching in that moment was. And so I had to come out and say, look, you guys do that. That's going to make it hard on the offense, all right? Any offense. You play like this, you do these things. And then I tried to point those out in practice, like that technique, the things that he was talking about, I would show at the team meetings, and then all of a sudden you see more and more of that. So I think our D-line, I think the way he's coaching them, I think the way those guys are playing, they did a good job. And we get Brahms back and Troxel back and some of these other guys fully healthy. Jeremiah Wright's not fully healthy. You don't have KJ out there, but you do have guys like Stutz, who's really stepped up. He's had the best performance I've seen him have in camps and practices. I think Jalil did a really good job at center. He's been asked to do a lot. He's also working on the punt team. And so those guys, Colby Smith, I don't know if any of those guys are fully healthy. They got little tweaks here and there, but those guys have stepped up and played. So there were some good things in the run game. But I think our D-line, linebackers, those guys have been playing it well. So it's just that back and forth. But what I would look at is say, all right, we got some short yardage runs in there. Our defense stopped the offense on the short yardage play, a fourth down. We also got some. So those critical moments where you got to get those yards, I think it was probably 50-50 in those situations.
I'm sorry, far right.
Hey, Bryan, we're talking to Tank Bigsby earlier, and he obviously dipped his toe in the transfer portal for a little bit this year, really quickly in the offseason. He said you sat down with him, Cadillac sat down with him, and he talked about how his role could grow just maybe more outside of between the tackles, more of a dynamic back in the pass game. We saw some flashes of that today. Is that something when you were pitching for him to stay that you were going to utilize him more as an all-around playmaker?
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to get into all that. I mean, that's really kind of family business right there. So we'll just leave it at that, I guess. Yeah.
John,
TJ is obviously no stranger to competition going back to his days at LSU. How did he embrace? Did he embrace these guys coming in and the competition that
Yeah.
resulted?
Yeah, TJ's really smart now, and not just at playing quarterback. Like, I think he's got a good feel, and he understands. He knows there's a competition. He knows that position needs to play well for our offense to be successful and for our team. And he also, like I said before, I mean, he's got a good feel out there, but he's also helping the other guys at his position too. I mean, you think about, you're competing, and this is what I appreciate about the leadership that he's provided this spring is he might be out there quizzing some guys on something that he already knows that he had to work through, that he had to get help on, that other quarterbacks or other players helped him. Well, he's trying to do the same thing for guys he's competing against. Hey, what's the formation? What do we do here? How do we check this play? And I'm sitting over here, but I hear him, and those guys are going back and forth, and they do it in meetings. They help each other out, so they're still teammates. They're competing for a spot, but they're still teammates. And I think TJ's got a good understanding of that. Like, look, these are my teammates. You know what? We want to put the best guy out there. I want to be the best guy, but we got to have the best guy on the field, and we need to know these things so that our offense can operate. And that's what I've seen from that group, and I think that's part of Coach Keesaw. I think that's part of, how that group is being developed a lot too. But I think a lot of it has to do with TJ of just we know the quarterback position needs to play well, and he's out there trying to help those other guys too with some things he's learned and might be a little bit ahead on, and then it's just go compete. So he's not afraid of competition. I know that whatsoever, and he is about the team and wants to help guys be successful on the team. And then he himself, he's got plenty of things to work on too. He knows that, and he's trying to better himself, but he's done those things through the spring. He's changed some things up. There's still things that we're going to work on in the off season, but at least he's aware of it, and he's willing to go out there and put in the time to correct some of those things and get better.
Bryan, at the beginning of spring, you talked about how Holden just needed to gain in confidence in the offense and what y'all do. What have you seen from him in these 15 practices from the start until now, and then what did you like about what he did today?
Yeah, well, yes. Let me just clarify that. Like, confidence, he needs to know what the heck we're doing. Like, actually do it. It's one thing to sit there and watch it and watch somebody else do it, and then you get your chance to go out there and use the cadence, motion a guy, get under center, get back in the gun, break a huddle, go no huddle, whatever. It's all those things. He can play. There's no doubt about it. He can play. It's just he's never done it before. And so when guys get to this level, they're good players. They're obviously good players in high school. They've never played at this level. And so we all have to understand that. Like, it's a different speed. It's different competition. Freshman comes in, they're going against a fifth-year senior, fourth-year senior, whatever, 4-year guy. I mean, it's different, so it takes a little bit of time. He doesn't lack confidence. I think he knows he can play, which he should. I mean, he just knows that he needs to learn these things. And what I like about it is he's got a little bit of, he's poised and he's a little paranoid. He knows he needs to keep working on this stuff, which is exactly what I think a quarterback should be. All right, you know you can go out there and play. He showed that today. Watch the drive he put together. He kept hitting the same throw, like, look, if they're going to give it up, I'm going to take it. And so he kept taking that profit, taking the profit, and then bang, he hit the big throw when we needed to score because we were holding the clock a little bit there at the end, wanted to see that group score, and he did that. So, and he knew that. I mean, he's very well where he's looking up there like, all right, we want to put the ball in the end zone. So they did that. He finished the drive, and I thought that was good to see. You know, and that's just going to help him too. Like, look, we got that on film. We can go evaluate it. It's more reps for him, and then we can help him develop further.
Joe.
Okay, Brian. How does the dynamic of having 3 transfer quarterbacks going into fall competition help that position ultimately?
It's competitive. One, after a while, it doesn't help. After a while, you gotta hone the reps in. So through the summer, like, hey, look, they're all competing. All right, like I said before, they're all helping each other out, and I think that's one thing. So that creates competition. It's going to bring out the best in those guys. And then the next step is going to be once that scrimmage happens in fall camp. All right, we're going to have to start making a decision. All right, here's our top 2 guys. Here are the guys we're going to work with the one offense more, and then we make a final decision before we play a few weeks out or whatever before we go out there and play the first game.
Does it help you as a coach knowing that you don't have to worry about these guys transferring?
Not,
Game,
yeah.
There are a lot of dynamics in the quarterback.
Sure. Yeah, and that's usually the position that's going to transfer a lot of times because there's one. Not really for me. I mean, for those guys, I think the way that we try to help them understand what that position's really about. I mean, you got to compete, and it's not always with each other. I mean, there's a lot they're going to do on their own. These guys are going to spend a bunch of time on their own, working on their craft, developing themselves, trying to be the best quarterback they can be. And if they want to be elite, then there's no shortcuts to that. There really isn't. Like, you got to get into a system, you got to learn it, and you got to develop, and you have to understand the details of what you're doing. And so, I think that's really important. And those guys, yes, transferring in here, they're here for a reason. They want to play. They want to help this team. They want to be a part of what we're doing. So, and the best part about it is, yeah, they're going to be here. So those guys are going to grind and do all the things necessary. I got no doubt with that group. And come fall camp, they're going to be much better, and they're going to be still competing, and then we're going to have to make a decision. But those guys, they're going to control their development, and they can't control all the reps like we do that. And they understand that too. Like, look, I can do everything I possibly can to be the best quarterback I can be and help this team win. And if that's good enough, I'll be the guy. And if it's not, then whoever that guy is, they better be really, really good. If they can beat me, they better be really, really good, which is going to help our team be more successful. And that should be the mindset those guys take into this competition.
Coach, last question, Brian Matthews.
Yes, Brian. How did Landon King look the second half when he moved over to wide receiver? And is the
Yeah.
catch he made today kind of example of what he's capable of doing?
Yeah, no, that was good. And, yeah, we did that from a depth standpoint, but he was doing those things at tight end too. So I think he's done a really good job with Coach Bedell. I think getting in there with Coach Hilliard, who's done a great job with him. It's just going to make him a better player. I mean, right now, he can do both. He can be on the line of scrimmage. He can be split out wide. I mean, it gives us an advantage with what he's able to do. And the thing about Landon that you really love about him is, like, look, we need you to do this. All right. I mean, he doesn't flinch. It's not one of those, like, what are we doing? It's like, all right. He's sitting in that meeting room the next day, and he's just like, you're going to throw me the ball? Yes, good. I'll do whatever. So you love that about him. That's the thing that, since I've known Landon, like, his attitude towards just what's it going to take for me to help us be successful. He'll do it. So we'll keep figuring out where he fits and what he's doing. But, I mean, those are just reps to make him a better football player and to help our team.
All right, Coach.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a great night.